Hey, what's up, guys? It's Mike from Instagram. Thank you for taking the time out to watch this video. Hope you learn and educate yourself from it.
In 1999, 19-year-old Michelle Nina Sanchez, a young African-American woman and mother to a small daughter, was sadly murdered in a crime that remains unsolved and largely forgotten. Michelle was last seen alive by her family on July 14th, and just 2 days later, on the morning of July 16th, her remains was discovered along Interstate 40 at mile marker 230, near the desolate exit that intersects with State Road 3 in Torrance County, New Mexico. The location, close to Klein's Corner, was a hub for long-haul truckers and interstate travelers, raising speculation that Michelle may have crossed paths with the wrong person in that transient environment. Investigators never confirmed how she died, but the circumstances suggested she may have been pushed from a vehicle and left to succumb to her injuries along the highway. Michelle had previously been charged with criminal trespassing at the Klein's Corner truck stop, leading some to believe she may have been homeless or spending time in the parking lot, vulnerable to predatory strangers. Yet regardless of her circumstances, she did not deserve the fate she met. Her murder left behind grieving parents and a young daughter who would grow up without her mother. Despite the brutality of the crime, Michelle's case received little public attention, overshadowed by other investigations and quickly fading from headlines. No suspects were ever identified, and the lack of answers has left her family with decades of pain and uncertainty. Today, her story stands as a haunting reminder of how easily marginalized victims can be forgotten, their lives dismissed even as their families continue to mourn. Michelle Nina Sanchez's murder remains a cold case, a tragic example of justice denied, and a plea for renewed attention to ensure her life is not erased from memory. Rest in peace to Ms. Sanchez, and my condolences to the family. In 2003, 30-year-old Sean Miller was sadly murdered in a crime that has haunted Stratford, Connecticut, for more than 2 decades. On the night of October 13th, just before midnight, Miller was at his home on 172 Bruce Avenue when a knock came at the back door. When he answered, an unknown man dressed in dark clothing shot him in the face on the front steps of his home before vanishing into the night. Neighbors reported hearing the commotion, and Miller was rushed to Bridgeport Hospital, but despite efforts to save him, he was pronounced dead an hour later. The sudden and violent act left his family shattered, particularly his 4 young sons, sister, and niece, who have continued to plead for justice. His son Jalen Miller later spoke publicly, saying, "I would like my little brothers to know that bad things happen, but justice will be served," a statement that underscored the family's enduring hope for closure. Police initially investigated the case but were unable to identify the killer, and the motive remains unclear. Over the years, the case has grown cold, though authorities have periodically revisited the original files in hopes of uncovering new leads. For the Miller family, the pain of losing Sean has been compounded by the silence surrounding his death, as the man who pulled the trigger has never been brought to justice. The murder of Sean Miller stands as a chilling reminder of how quickly life can be stolen and how unresolved crimes leave families in perpetual grief. Today, his loved ones continue to call on the public to come forward with any information, determined that one day the truth will surface, and the person responsible for Sean Miller's death will finally be held accountable. Rest in peace to Mr. Miller, and my condolences to the Miller family. In 2004, 24-year-old Nakomi Freeman was murdered in a crime that shocked Phoenix, Arizona, and remains unsolved to this day. On Thursday, June 24th, at approximately 1:40 a.m., Freeman was discovered with a fatal gunshot wound to the stomach in the 1600 block of West Denton Avenue. Witnesses reported seeing her pushed out of a dark-colored truck and left for dead on the street. Despite being rushed to medical care, she succumbed to her injuries, leaving her family devastated and desperate for justice. Detectives quickly determined that Freeman may have been riding in a late 1990s model short-bed pickup truck, possibly bearing the letters J, T, and L on its license plate. The vehicle sped away after dumping her ad, and investigators believe it holds the key to identifying her killer. Police have pursued leads, but the case has grown cold, with authorities urging the public to come forward with any information that could help solve the crime. For Freeman's loved ones, the pain of losing her in such a brutal and senseless way has never faded. Her story remains a haunting reminder of violence and silence, and the hope persists that one day someone will break that silence and bring her killer to justice. Rest in peace to Ms. Freeman, and my condolences to the Freeman family. Sadly, this is one of those cases that had very scant information available. In 1996, 19-year-old Kirsty Faylina Britt and 41-year-old Randy Lee Newman were murdered in a chilling double homicide that has haunted Fairmont, North Carolina, for decades. On the night of December 27th, just 2 days after Christmas, Britt was working a shift at the J&J convenience store at the intersection of Highways 41 and 904. She had agreed to fill in for a sick coworker, unaware that the decision would place her in the path of violence. Newman, a Greensboro resident traveling to Myrtle Beach to meet his wife, stopped at the store for a quick break. Neither would sadly leave alive. Around 8 p.m., 3 men entered the store. One fatally shot Britt while another stole cash from the register. Newman, who had just exited the bathroom and was standing at the fountain drink counter, and was shot. Both victims were murdered with a small caliber handgun. The assailants fled with approximately $1,000 in cash and the store's security video cassette recorder, erasing crucial evidence. Witnesses reported seeing a small to medium red or burgundy car near the store, and investigators believe the suspects had ties to Robeson County and Winston-Salem. Despite vague descriptions, young black men with short to medium-length hair, no arrests were ever made. The case quickly went cold, leaving families devastated. Sharon Newman, Randy's wife, still wears the gold bracelet he gave her that Christmas, clinging to hope that justice will one day be served. She moved to Myrtle Beach after his death, but continues to revisit the store where he was killed, seeking connection to his final moments. Britt's mother, Patricia Hartness, forgave her daughter's killer years ago, but remains troubled by the lack of arrests, emphasizing that her daughter's life mattered. She now raises Britt's son, Rodney, whose father died in a car accident months after the murder. The holidays became a painful reminder of loss, with Hartness no longer decorating her home as she once did. Investigators, including Detective Latine Anthony Thompson, expressed frustration that suspects were identified, but evidence was insufficient to bring charges, as the stolen surveillance tape left them without proof. A $10,000 reward was offered, but decades later, the murders remain unsolved. The case of Kirsty Britt and Randy Newman stands as a haunting reminder of how quickly lives can be stolen, leaving families to grieve and communities to wonder if justice will ever come. Rest in peace to Miss Britt and Mr. Newman, and my condolences to both families. Rest in peace to all of these beautiful souls. You will never be forgotten. Thank you everyone for watching. If you can share this case with someone, please do. I encourage everybody to write or call any police department and demand them to look into cases that have been cold for years.